Good morning and welcome to First Friday Lunch. My name is Tina Holland, and I am going to be talking today about staying the course, staying on track. If you remember in February, I had a video about epic fails, like how I just did not go right. So this month, I thought we'd talk about, getting how I got back on track and then staying the course to be able to be consistent in writing and getting new works out there. One thing I have a couple of announcements, or one announcement really. The big one is that I have coming out in February, March 15th, Tales from the Frozen North. And I am going to go ahead and share my screen so that you guys can see let's see here now. If I go like that, will it do it? I think that'll work. Okay. And then share. Share screen. It always takes me a few minutes to get back into this. So also I have like my screen super enlarged. I've been having like eye problems lately. And so I've been wanting to maybe Chrome tab. This one. All right. And I've been having issues with. There we go. Okay. So hopefully you can see the screen, but I have this Tales from the Frozen North, which I'll click on this. And it's an anthology that I worked on with the Moorhead Friends writing group. They used to be Friends of the Moorhead Library, and then we kind of changed the name a little bit. So I'm trying to see if I can just get in there. Can I just open that up? There we go. So anyway, so this is an anthology that will be coming out March 15th, the Kindle edition. I'm actually doing the formatting, so I'm still waiting to upload to Ingram Sparks, as well as reviewing the proofs of the paperback edition. So this will be out March 15th. And my story, Snow by Any Other Name, is in there. If you are a member of my newsletter, you would have gotten a chance to see that firsthand. So would have had an opportunity to read it prior to its coming out. So I'm curious. We've been doing it looks like we dropped in the rankings. We were at like 714, which is interesting to me. But then when I went and actually looked at the sales pages, I'm not sure how that works. I would be very curious as to how the algorithms work on the bestseller ranks or whatever. So this is still pretty good though, I think. But when we were under 1,000, I was like, wow, that's really impressive. So anyway, that's coming out March 15th. So I've been working on that, and you guys may my content, normally I'm really good about making sure that this is all uploaded and everything, but I have had a heck of a time this last months, failing so horribly in February. And then I've just maybe overcommitted myself in a lot of ways too. So this has been fun though, because I needed to learn how to do formatting anyway. So when Chris, the group leader, asked me if I'd be willing to format it, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to, just to get the experience, because especially around the paperback portion, because I have to format my own books if I want to publish them in paperback, because my one publisher, Book Boutiques, only does digital, so they don't do print. So I can do print, and I only have a couple of novel length books with them. But then I was thinking of packaging some of my other stuff as a trilogy. I was actually looking to do that because I have a conference that's coming up that maybe a trilogy would work to bring to that, my post-apocalyptic series dealing with the dead. So I thought it would be good to get some formatting experience to do that. So that is that. And then now I'll kind of get in on the meat of the subject, if you will. So talking about staying the course, like basically getting back on track. How do you keep consistent so you don't burn out and those sorts of things? So how do I do that? There's a few things that I do to manage that. One of them is, I'm going to delete that altogether. I don't need that one. Ta-da. is that planners, if it's not in a planner, and I have a couple different ones. I have this planner that I use. I have my phone, which has my Google Calendar on it. I use that, and I have a Kanban board back here that I also started using. Actually, I don't know that one of the reasons that I chose to do the video from this direction was so that you guys could actually see the Kanban board. And the to-do items, like that's the middle section. I actually put those in the planner. I'll show you here what I do. I actually take the legit sticky and do that, where I put it in the planner so that I kind of know what I got to work on for the week. And that seems to be helping me quite a bit than just going to the board, because I have this. If I'm upstairs, downstairs, out in public, I usually have this in my purse. I always have this, and mostly like my meetings and stuff are on my Google Calendar. They are in here as well, but this is more of a to do for me. So meeting wise, I like to have everything in here. So I'll take I have some groups on Facebook that I belong to, and I'll download those meetings into my Google Calendar so that my phone will tell me when I got to go to a meeting. Otherwise, I'd probably forget. So that's one thing, is that I got to write it down. I got to plan it, and I got to make sure that it gets done. This calendar has some interesting things like around like goals. Like it's got like top 3 things you got to get done this week or this month. And then there's some other stuff. And I think I forget what those planners are called, but where people kind of make their own, and they have like the dots in them, and you can kind of make your own stuff. I kind of need more of a traditional planner. And I think part of that is because I came from the corporate world. And so it's sort of a thing that I'm used to. And then the Google Calendar. So basically planning, I'll plan some stuff like up here on the board. I've got like pink is all the writing stuff I have to get done. So like the top pink one, that's My Fair Lord, which is my next Regency book that I've got to get done before the end of the month. Green is editing. Yellow is for other people. So the groups that I'm part of, BizMan Writers Guild, Moorhead Friend Writings Group, Word Weavers, although we're much more informal, and then Writers and Garden are some of the ones that I'll do projects for. So as you can see, I don't know if I didn't have this board, but that was fairly full in February, and now it's moved down because this board is for the whole quarter. And I kind of took that from Sarah Cannon. Does a thing where she will go ahead and plan for the quarter. And that really appealed to me in the sense that there was a business, like businesses plan around quarters. As a matter of fact, one of the yellow ones up there is, it's the orange ones. There's orange ones up there. That's from my husband's business. So that's all the work I do for him. And you can see he's got a lot in the to do, like way up top. It's not even in the to done. There's some in the to done, but like we do books weekly for him, and then I'll have like a quarterly statement I'll have to put together at the end of the quarter and that sort of stuff. So I have to put him on the planner too, otherwise his stuff doesn't get done. And it's not as pressing right now, but if I don't get it on the planner, then I'm going to be rushing to do it right before the season starts, which doesn't work out at all. So that's one thing that I do. The other thing that I do, and this is just a me thing, I journal before I write. That's part of like the artist way thing. And even if it's like 6 o'clock at night, I'm journaling. And so I'll buy these like little journals. This one actually was a gift. My husband gave me a black leather one for Christmas. My sister gave me this one for my birthday last year. Or was it my birthday? It was her birthday. Maybe I bought it. I don't remember. We were together though. So, but yeah, so it's got these little owls. And so I'll go ahead and I'll do up those pages before I write for the day, because otherwise it gets like all the junk out of my head. And I think I've mentioned that in videos before where I can't really write if I'm thinking about what I got to buy for groceries or whatever. So I will go ahead and journal this out. Sometimes when we're running errands in town, this will be in the car. And so like my husband will stop and put gas in the car, and I'll actually like start my morning pages or whatever. That's what Julia Cameron calls them, the morning pages. And so I got to go ahead and do those before I can be creative. And that's it's just a way for me to get the junk out. I do write about things too, like when my parents died and I wasn't actually creatively writing, I wrote a lot in my journal about, how I felt and what things were going on and what made me mad and all that stuff. So it's a good way for me to process emotions and just like garbagey things too, like grocery lists and, um, whatever, how much I weighed on the scale, or if I didn't get to the gym, or, things like that. So that helps me a lot. But the biggest part for me is really, it's all about routine. It's all about creating a routine around getting things done. So in one of my books, I talk about the different kinds of writers. In my nonfiction book, I'll talk about the different kinds of writers. And for me, I think I fall between, there are people that can just sit down and write and literally, like, if you're a full-time writer, sometimes there are some people that can literally sit down and work it like a job. Like they'll go to work, they'll check their emails, and they will creatively write all day. That's not me. I have to create an environment to write in. And so there's this, some people write when the mood strikes them. I'm not quite there. I used to be there. That used to be totally what I did, is I would write when the mood struck me. Well, doesn't create enough consistency to be a career, to make it a career. If that's the type of writer you are, you're going to have to kind of come up with, unless you can get the mood to strike fairly consistently, or you write a lot when the mood strikes, it might be hard to maintain a career of putting out multiple books in a year just to be consistent with readers. And so one of the things that I've done is I will create that mood where I track like how many words I write in a spreadsheet. Like I will see when I'm most productive. So I'm actually on this Regency, I'm almost to 10K. I'm not quite there, but maybe a couple thousand words I'll be at 10K for the book. But I've really got to kind of buckle down and do it. And what I had been doing is doing these write-ins with Courtney at the Courtney Project. She's part of the Kennedy Fox writing duo. And she's been doing write-ins on YouTube in the evenings. And the last few nights I've kind of gone to those, and that's been nice. Last night, I think I did an hour. I didn't do as many words as I would have liked. But when I do those write-ins, it's like 2.5 to 4 hours, depending on how long she's going, but I'll get over 1,000 words. And that for me, if I can get 1,000 words in a day, that's pretty good. But part of the routine too is setting up my space, getting my morning pages done, drinking out of the daily cup of coffee. This one actually says Friday on it. It's from my friend Rachel got me a Friday and a Tuesday mug because I didn't have those. And so I have a mug for every day of the week. I think my Monday mug says London on it, that my daughter got me from London. So I'll do that. I will have music playing. I prefer to do write-ins. So even the recorded write-ins on YouTube, that seems to help me get words out. I don't know why. Maybe it's because there's built-in breaks. A lot of the YouTube write-ins, and maybe there's ones on Twitch and Facebook, and there's a bunch of areas where you can find these write-ins. Zoom, if you're actually part of a writing group, some people do them on Zoom. But I find those extremely beneficial, and they usually do the Pomodoro method. If I'm editing, I don't find those as productive because I need to block a whole hour to edit, and then I'll get as far as I need to, take a break, come back, do it again. And that just takes me longer, but it does take people longer to do edits if you write fast. And I've noticed that this last month, when I kind of kicked my butt in gear, I seem to be writing faster. Like the words are coming fairly easy on the second book. I notice it's heavy dialogue and there's some contemporary stuff in there. So I'll have to go back and edit that out, but just to get the word on the page and done. I find the editing process easier maybe than some authors, because I kind of figure that's the point at which I shine, because I can shine up that book and make it more appealing to readers or whatever. But I can layer in things like clothing and setting and all those things that I tend to forget. But I mean, my first drafts almost always look like a screenplay. So I'll go ahead and do that. I've started going back too. And one of the things that I've done is gone back and edited edits maybe a rough word, but rereading what I wrote the night before, or rereading what I wrote previously, depending on how long ago it was since I find that does a couple things. It helps me get back into the story because maybe it's been a few days since I touched it. And then the other thing is that I can kind of tweak that and say, oh, I didn't really mean to say that, or I forgot to put a word there, or, whatever. So I can kind of clean it up a little bit and move on. And so I'll do that. And then next week, next Monday specifically, I'll be submitting the first chapter of this Regency to my critique group, Word Weavers, and we'll go ahead and they can look it over. And that'll be like the second part of the editing process. I've also found if I do have stuff that I'm going to have them critique, I write faster because I kind of want to get ahead of the critiques. I want to be a few chapters ahead before I give it to them, because then when I do give it to them, I can edit that and clean it up a little. And it's not as much, it's not like I have to write the next piece before I get to them, because I have done that in the past where I've maybe it's given them the extreme rough draft because I just finished it the night before I submitted it or something. But I find that that's kind of helps me stay on an internal deadline. They won't do all the critiquing and editing for me. I'm actually looking for a critique partner. I have one in South Africa, which is nice, and we write kind of the same stuff. So, but I'd like to have someone read the whole book and give me feedback on it versus what I have been doing, where I kind of go do these piecemeal critiques or whatever. So I'm kind of looking for a beta reader, an alpha reader. I think it'd be an alpha reader, maybe. I don't know. I'm not as familiar with those terms, but. So that's kind of me. I have to go ahead and create consistency. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the comment. I guess I don't know where they are on here. They are there, depending on how you're viewing it. It's going to either be down or off to the side. So off to that side, maybe that side. I think this side. That side. I guess if I'm looking at it, it's this side. So it's probably that side for you guys. Whatever. Whatever. I think that's all I have. I didn't have as much stuff today, mostly because I was, like I said, I've been so busy just going ahead and getting things done. Some of the stuff, that I'm working on right now is my Regency Romance Book 2. The first one's called The Widow Spy. It was, I hesitate to use the word purchase, but it was picked up by Magnolia Blossom Publishing. I'm still waiting to see the cover art, and I think the edits will be starting this month in March. As I was writing the second book, I went back to the first book and kind of reread it because there's some overlap between the two books and the characters. So I went back and I was rereading stuff, and I actually found a couple of errors. I was like, we got to change two things, this on this page and that on that page. So I resent them the manuscript. They were like, yep, nope, that's no problem, because it's just getting into the queue to get edited. And like I said, I'm still waiting on cover art. So they might be waiting because I think they're going to do sort of a rapid release, but I think they want that series built up. So they might be waiting on book 2 before they basically put out book 1. I wouldn't be surprised if the cover art comes up, but maybe they won't release it until book 2 is in their hands, and we're working on that one as well. So, and I should be able to get book 2, but book 3, because I'm contracted for 3 books before the end of the year. And I think book 3 it's going to take longer because it's going to fall right over spray season or the beginning of spray season. And so that tends to be a little iffy on how much work I'm going to be able to get done on a project. So yeah. Like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. This was so ill planned on my part. I didn't even think about, normally I will put out a thing a few days beforehand and say, I'm going to have First Friday lunch. And it just sort of snuck up on me. And I don't know if that's because we started on Monday with February and now it's March. And it doesn't feel like March. I don't know where you live in your part of the country, but here it is very cold still. I still have a 5-foot drift in my driveway. If you want to see what that looks like, you could go out to Instagram and check out my Instagram page. And I've got a picture with me and our puppy, he's 4 behind me. And it's so deep. And we got plowed through, but we now have a tunnel basically. So I will just be so glad that when this is over. The month of March is I've got this release coming up on the 15th. I have let me look at my planner and I'll tell you what I've got going on personally. I have a retreat with Writers and Garden on it's a maker's retreat, and that is coming up on next weekend. Is it next weekend? Yeah, it's next weekend already. Oh, I have to send over. I'm in charge of cocktails, so I have to send over the mocktail mix, which I have a book back here that I think I'm going to use and go ahead and do that. But yeah, it's that this next weekend, the 12th, like the 11th, 12th. And then after that, there's a parade in Fargo for St. Patrick's Day. So that's kind of exciting. And then the weekend after that is what's going on? Oh, there's a carnival at the local school. And then the weekend after that, my sister comes into town. So it's like kind of, I've got everything going on, a lot of stuff going on the weekends. So to include this one, I think that my husband and I are going to go up to Grand Forks and go to the Cabela's and eat at the Blue Moose or whatever. So I think that I've got like all my weekends booked out for a little bit. But yeah, that's good because I kind of it helps me kind of say this is the weekend and I'll take a break on the weekend when I'm not writing. It sounds so horrible that I can't get stuff done and I'm this like full-time writer. Like that's my gig full-time, but I am pretty laid back about it. I'm going to see if I can't join Courtney tonight when she does her write-in, just because it seems like I've been getting a lot of words down, and the energy really seems to be flowing for that to get words in that I don't really see as much on the write-ins that are recorded. I do get words in. That still works for me as a process to watch a recording of someone and we're doing a write-in. There are some people I prefer to write live with versus watching the recording. I don't know why. I will watch like Courtney's. I'll watch whether they're recorded or not, just because there seems to be that energy level comes through. So I like that, but I don't do that with everyone. And I've been thinking about doing recordings myself. I just haven't gotten around to it. It seems like I'm trying to find a good spot to do it in and not overlap and compete with somebody else. So it's one of those things I've thought about maybe proposing with some of the writing groups to see if we would like to host a write-in, or if I could host a write-in and see if any of the writing groups want to come to it. That might work better. So like what would be a good time for you guys? And then just whenever the majority of people can make the write-in, we do it. So yeah, I guess that's it. I don't have a lot more. We're kind of getting at the just over 20 minutes. So I think I will wrap it up. It seems like my guests may have left anyway, so that is totally fine. Next month, First Friday lunch is going to be April 1st at 11:30 a.m. And actually, we're going to talk about taxes. We're going to go over some of the things that you need to have if you're a writer and you're planning on writing off your business expenses or whatever. So I just did one the other day. I bought some ISBNs, and that's totally deductible. So if you do that, you should be writing that off on your taxes. So, but yeah, so next month we'll be going over it. I have a spreadsheet that I use because I like spreadsheets, even though I'm not like an accounting person. Like my corporate life was logistics, so it's getting stuff from point A to point B and maybe Z, depending on how much you had or whatever. But next month I'm going to be talking about taxes and what the IRS is looking for in your deductions and how they should be split up and all that stuff. So it's not that hard if you're not super big. Like if you're not making, maybe if you're making 5 figures, if you're making 5 or 6 figures, you probably have an accountant, or maybe you're thinking about having an accountant, or maybe you are an accountant and therefore it's not that big of a deal. But I'm not there yet, so I can still manage it through my little spreadsheet and on my taxes every year. So, but there are authors that are bigger that literally turn everything over to their accountants and let them manage it. So that's what we will be talking about next month. So next month, First Friday, April 1st, 11:30 a.m., pencil me in for lunch.